Okay, safety cautions while operating. First one obviously is safety glasses. And next one is making sure, you don't have to write this down yet, but making sure your piece is the right size. So if I come over with a piece like this is what the machine is intended for, a piece about this size. However, if I pick something up like this, I'm in a real danger. And you guys don't understand this yet, but something this small is very hard to keep stable against the fence. And if it rattles at all, it only has to move this far to create a pinch point. I mean, less than a 32nd of an inch, and it's going to be trapped in there, and I'm going to be wearing this. I'm going to be referring to that a lot. But you don't want to have small objects. The table saw is not designed for that. It's designed for a rip cut. If you are going to be doing something like this, we have a sled that we put on top of the table saw, and you put this in the sled and then you cut it. It's another option. So your board needs to be the right size. So the next thing I want you to write down is when your board is wider than it is long, you need to use the miter gauge. When the board is wider than it is long, you have to use a miter gauge. So right now this board is wide and it's not very long. So if I'm going to cut this on here, I have to use a miter gauge. However, this is a really stupid idea to use a miter gauge, so I can still use it incorrectly even if I do it. And the reason this is stupid is if I push forward right here, it will hold it for a little bit, but it is going to slide, and this is going to create a pinch point between these two. So I need to have my push stick on the right side of... I can do this, don't worry, I've done this before. So that whatever I cut off is not going to be trapped. And this way, this can just sit over there. Okay. When do we use a push stick? When do we not use a push stick? For me, in this shop, if it's over 4 inches, use your hand. If it's over 4 inches, use your hand. If it's under, use a push stick. If it's over 4 inches, use your hand. If it's under, use a push stick. Here's the reason why. The table saw is as much about feeling your board as it is watching what's happening. When I send a board through here, I'm going to be feeling how it's rattling and how tight it is against the fence. I know this is going to sound really stupid, but I could actually send this through with my eyes closed, just because I'd be feeling the board and I could feel how it's sitting against that. That's really stupid. I'd never do that. I'd kick you out of the shop if you did that. But I'm just saying that it's as much feeling as it is watching what's going on, because if this moves out of the way, I'm going to feel it immediately. My fingers are going to sense it. Whereas if I have a push stick, now I have a separation between me and the board, and I can't feel if this board is wiggling. And so it's actually dangerous when you're using a bigger board to use a push stick, because I can't feel what that board is doing. And if it's starting to kick out a little bit, if my eyes aren't watching the right place and see that, it's going to do a kickback on me. All right, next thing is blade height. I'm going to raise this up real quick so you guys can see it. There are little cavities inside this blade. Where every tooth is, there's a little cavity. These are called gullets. There's a little gullet in there. And that gullet is to pick up all the extra material. So when it grabs it, that tooth comes around and grabs the wood, it sticks it in that little spot right there until it gets under the table, and then it throws it away. It's pretty cool. Smart little teeth there, aren't they? And so it comes around and it grabs, and then it throws it under there. And if I have this embedded in it, might be time to grease those. If I have this embedded in the wood where I can't see that, it's going to be grabbing a whole bunch of material and it's going to be packing it in there, especially if I'm pushing fast, and I'm liable to get a burn on my piece of wood. So I don't want that. So I want it up above the material. So the general standard practice in like a cabinet shop or something is that you want it at the bottom of the gullet, but that leaves a lot of exposed blade. So in this shop, what I tend to tell students, especially because we're not doing production, we're not trying to send it through really fast, blade should be 1/4 inch higher than your material. Blade should be 1/4 inch higher than your material. So I'm going to set this for 1/4 inch higher. And now I'm going to take a small cut. So this small cut is, what I'm leaving is 6.5 inches. So this gauge is extremely accurate. If I set this for 6.5 and I cut it, I have a 6.5 inch piece when I get done. You don't have to adjust for the blade or anything. What I'm going to keep what's on this side of the blade. You keep what you kill. I think I heard that somewhere.